Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is September's Month in Review, where we're going to go through the best games of the month, the disappointments, the highlights, the best videos of the month, mine and others, a bunch of board game stats for the month of September, all those usual things, and we'll have links and timestamps to everything down below. And starting off with the stats for the month, just as far as how September went as far as playing board games, and it's actually the lowest month I have this year. I believe June, maybe July, was the previous lowest month, was 164 games played, and this month they were down to 153 games, despite going to WSBG, the World Series of Board Gaming. I think the amount of holidays and travel and everything else kind of contributed to just being a little bit lighter as far as games played. 153 games is still a pretty good month, all things considered, but it is my lowest month of the year of 2023 so far. We have 64 unique games played. 30 of those are new to me. So from the 153 plays, 64 are unique, which means we're averaging about two and a half plays per game played on average, although of course some of those are games I played once, and others are games I played, well, I think 20 times might be the highest number. No, 40 times. I think we'll get to it. We'll go through it all shortly. But 30 of those games were new to me for the month of September, and the other 34 were, I guess, older games that I'm just diving back into again. I have an H-index of 5 for the month of September, which means the usual H-index is the number of games you've played X number of times. So I've played at least 5 games at least 5 times. That means I have not played 6 games 6 times. I've played 5 games 5 times. I may have played 70 games 5 times, but I have not played 6 games 6 times, if you follow H-indexes. That being my H-index for the year, though, my H-index for the full year of 2023 currently is at 17 for the year, which is really not bad as far as an H-index. I think it's the highest H-index I've ever achieved since logging plays for a single year, that is. I didn't actually look at my H-index for all time. That's likely higher. Almost certainly higher. My highest H-index until now was 12, and that wasn't actually for last year. Last year I only had an H-index of 10. The prior year, 2021, I had an H-index of 12. So again, that's 12 games played 12 times. This year I'm at 17. I'm assuming that that's easier to hit because this year I've been focusing hard on that 12 by 12 challenge aspect, the diving into games multiple times to get more plays for them. I filmed like 5 or 6 videos in that series, although I technically am trying to do at least 12 this year, so we'll see if I actually get to all 12. But I've played at least 17 games 17 times. Not all of them am I doing a full 12 by 12 review for. I am picky about whether I think it adds value to the conversation. So just because I played a game 12 times does not mean I do a 12 by 12 review of it automatically. But either way, 17 is certainly not bad for 2023, and that number is only going to go up. Probably. The tricky thing about H-index is the higher they get, the higher it is to guarantee that they continue to go up. Sometimes they just stop and plateau, and it gets harder and harder to crest over that next number. Going from an H-index of 20 to 21 can take a lot of time, as 21, 22, etc., etc. From there, we have Mythic Mischief as my most played game in September. My most played game in September is Mythic Mischief with 40 plays. About half of those are playing from the app, maybe a little more than half, maybe around 25 plays from the app, and then around 15 plays or so in person, between playing before going to Ivy Games, between playing at Ivy Games, between playing after Ivy Games. Again, I think I'm just guesstimating here because I'm sure I have it logged because I do log where I play them. I log online plays as a separate category, and that includes BGA, app-based games, whatever it is. But I'm guessing, just estimating, is around 15 in person and around 25 app-based games. Although I'm down for some more app-based game of Mythic Mischief, I really enjoy that one quite a bit. That's going to be 40 plays from one game alone, which is a high number. Past that, other games we have that are over 5 or so. We have Skyrockets, Crokinole, Codenames Duet, Dorf Romantic, Flame and Fang, as well as Apiary are all games that I got over 5 plays in September of, well, this year. So that's going to be my stats for September 2023. A bunch of games played, like 6 or 7 games that got to at least 5, but only an H-index of actually 5 for this month, although with 40 games played of a single game as well. From there, moving to the favorite videos category, specifically favorite videos of other people. This is a category I introduced last month, a new section to the month in review. But going through, and in all these sections, by the way, in every single section, I'm going to rank to some degree my most to least favorite from all these things. But starting off with my number 5 pick, favorite videos. Again, these are favorite board game videos that I have watched from other creators. Starting off with number 5, which is from Orski, my first year as a YouTuber. Orski is an up-and-coming creator. He's putting out videos for, well, I guess a year now. Mostly focused on Dune Imperium and TTS, but diving into other categories as well. And he has put out very interesting, just watching the industry content to a degree. And he put out a video on his first year of YouTuber, going through his revenue, his hours worked, all these fun little things. It's actually a subject I want to go into at some point as well. I believe King of Average is recently putting out a video, is putting out a video or has put out a video on the subject. I plan on diving into it as well. But either way, Orski put out a video on my first year as YouTuber, which I think is a good educational watch about the the process of kind of finding an audience, growing, stagnating, trying to figure out how to continue to grow. It is a constant, fascinating balance as far as the nature of being found, discovered, peaking, cresting, all these various fun little things. It is fun to be a content creator, and by fun I mean it's both fun, it's passionate, it's hard work, it doesn't pay well, but it's very often worth it depending on where you are. My fourth favorite video for the month of September is going to be Thinker Themer's Ticket to Ride Legacy review. There are actually a bunch of Ticket to Ride Legacy reviews, all very interesting. I haven't played through the whole Ticket to Ride, I've started playing through it, I need to finish it before I do a full review on it, but I really enjoy Ticket to Ride Legacy from what I've seen so far. And Thinker Themer did a great, I believe it was like 5 things they liked and 4 things they didn't like. Overall, their takeaway is very positive. I find Thinker Themer interesting in the sense that I love their conversational content in general. Fantastic channel, you should check them out if you haven't already. But I find that their reviews, sometimes that's just not a format that works for me as much, but I find when they're doing some of their bigger reviews, they focus on a things they like and things they don't like format, where they just talk about like, hey, I think they did it for Frosthaven too, like, 7 pros and 3 cons, whatever, and I just really like that format. I'd actually, to full credit and whatnot, I really appreciate, I don't know if that's where they got it from, but I really appreciate the One Stop Co-op Shop's 5 and 5 format, where they talk about 5 points that they either like, don't like, or are neutral about a game. I find that I resonate, and that might be why my own review format is based on the things I like, the things I don't like, the things I can see others not liking. I like that breaking up division of aspects as opposed to just a general conversation. But either way, I really like the Thinker Themer's Ticket to Ride Legacy review. My number 3 pick is Board Game Ramblings, A Guide to Essen. These, I think, in general are very useful. If you ever go to conventions, they just did a convention as a guide to Essen or any large conventions. Just things to be mindful of. Get some sleep. Don't be worried about missing out for a little bit. Make sure to shower. Get some good shoes. Make sure to eat. Lots of fun little tips and tricks that are useful for anyone going to a board game convention. I can get behind most of them except for the part where they're like, hey, it's okay to not go to the convention for a day. It is okay to not go to the convention for a day. I am not the person who's going to make that choice, nor would I advocate for that choice. I think if I spend a lot of money to go to a board game convention, I want to be at the board game convention. That's a personal choice. But if you're fine with missing, it's not the worst. Take a break, take a breather. It doesn't have to be board games 24/7. He says, desperately trying to convince himself. My number 2 pick is going to be The Brothers Murph, and this is actually interesting. This is a short, not a full video, but it was so well done that I have to recommend this one. But they had a short of Bentley versus board games. I don't know if you've seen that little YouTube short of Bentley. Bentley, 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 Bentley. If you haven't seen it, you have no idea what I'm doing. You think I've lost my mind. But if you've seen it, there's a little short of Bentley versus board games. They did a great job, immensely entertaining. Brothers Murph in general has been diving into shorts for a while. I experimented with shorts on the channel, and it's a format I still will do, but it's not a format I am passionate about, and so I don't find that I do a lot of them. But they had a Bentley versus board game short. It's a minute of your time and a well worth it minute in my opinion. And then for my number 1 pick is going to be Board Game Buzz. Carly from Board Game Buzz put out a video, 5 games I should have backed. I really appreciate this video from 2 aspects. The first is that it starts off very counter FOMO, very counter crowdfunding. It's like, hey, I just kind of can't justify backing all these games most of the time because I just can't justify it. It's just not worth it. They cost too much. I get them later anyway. It was a very anti-FOMO approach to crowdfunding in its very nature of it, but then also going backwards a bit and saying, but here are like 5 games that I kind of wish I had backed. And so it's just an interesting conversation from both aspects. I like the starting point of barely being interested in crowdfunding. I also like the reasons why 5 games did catch your attention. That's going to be Board Game Buzz, Carly from Board Game Buzz. If you haven't watched her channel, highly recommend checking it out. So that's what we have as far as the videos for the month from other channels. As far as the best new games of the month, there's a bunch of categories over here. I find sometimes in a given month, there's not enough games that I care about enough to call the best games of the month. In most of these categories, by the way, I specifically try to pick 5, and then I just rank them from 5 down to 1. From 5 down to 1 over here, we have My Island starting off. I was going to say, well, I mean, many months there are games where I struggle to get to 5. In the case of September, there were like 9 or 10 games I wanted to pick for this category, but we're going to start with the top 5, the 5 highest, starting with number 5, which is My Island. Had a chance to dive into My Island a bit further, not heavily yet. I've only played it like 4 times by now. I think I've played the first session twice, and then the next two scenarios. Really enjoying it so far. I don't know where it's going to pan out versus My City. I need to play it more, but so far, really enjoying My Island. You can easily recommend that. It's another follow-up to My City. So if you like My City, I think you'll enjoy My Island, and vice versa. At number 4, we have Art Society from Mighty Boards. Art Society, really enjoyed that one. I thought it was just a clean auction game that's just very well done. We were just traveling to Toronto, and a bunch like my daughter was instantly like, just bring Art Society, please. We want to play it. It's a great game. It's a very charming game. It's easy enough to play with family or gateway gamers, all that. But there's enough strategy going on that I think is an enjoyable experience at the same time. That's going to be Art Society. At number 3, we have Apiary. Apiary from Stonemaier Games. Really enjoying this one. I just like it. And I started off very lukewarm in it. I've been very high in Expeditions, and I just assumed Apiary wouldn't be as good. I mean, spoiler, it's not as good, at least not to me. But I do like Apiary quite a bit, and think it's a very solid tableau building game with a worker placement or bee placement or whatever, with enough interesting decisions and enough ways to play out the experience that just feels like a very variable experience. So I really enjoy Apiary. Strong pick for me for my third favorite game of September. My second favorite game of September is going to be a game called Evenfall. Evenfall, I had a chance to play at WSBG, and the card play of Evenfall was just intensely rewarding. I really enjoy it, and easily recommend that one as just being a very, very good, very rewarding experience if you like card-based games with a lot of powers and abilities and a simple infrastructure. Looking forward to covering that one more. Only one play under my belt, so take it with a grain of salt, but really enjoyed Evenfall. Which brings me to my number 1 pick, which again, only one play under my belt so far, but Wayfarers of the Cytigris. Thought this was excellent and really well done. I thought it was just a great game. I really enjoyed Wayfarers. I'm excited to dive back into it. It's one that, it's from the Shem Phillips, Garphill Games trilogies, or quad trilogies, or however many series they have, and I find that most of their games, outside of Hadrian's Wall, most of the games have not stuck with me, unfortunately. This one, to me, I mean, I need more plays, but I am anxious to dive back into it. This is easily my favorite game of September, beating out Apiary, beating out Art Society, My Island, as well as Evenfall. All those games, Wayfarers of Cytigris is easily my favorite new game for me in the month of September. As far as my disappointments, and as usual, disappointments is the only category where I do not intentionally try to find 5. Whether I have 1 disappointment, or 2, or 7, whatever, well, not 7, I guess I'd cap out at 5, but disappointments, I've never actually gotten to 5 yet, because disappointments is an interesting category in the sense that I find most games, even if I don't keep them, they're not disappointing. There's good games and there's great games. Disappointments to me are games where I was hoping for more. And to that end, I actually have 2 of them, and they're not even bad games. In fact, one of them is a great game that I'm keeping in my collection. I just wanted more from it. And to that end, my disappointment is going to start with Dorfromantik. Dorfromantik is one from Pegasus Spiel that I was very excited for, specifically because of My City. I got strong vibes in terms of the way the game is described, and I thought it would be another game that kind of hits My City vibes, but cooperatively. And I liked Dorfromantik, but I didn't feel the need to finish it. I played it like 6 or 7 times, got enough out of the experience, and said, you know what, I've seen enough of this experience, and I just don't need to finish this game. And I like it. I was like, I could go ahead and grind out another 3 or 4 games and finish it and cap it off, or I could just call it a day, and I decided to call it a day. I liked Dorfromantik, but it was not the excitement level I was hoping for from the game. And then secondly, Cascadia Landmarks. And again, I like Cascadia Landmarks. I am keeping Cascadia Landmarks. I think it's a good game. I just was hoping for more from the Cascadia system. I thought Cascadia Landmarks was going to add a lot more to the game, and ultimately the main thing it added was more variability, but it didn't make the game better for me. If anything, it made it slightly different, but gave variability. Sorry, slightly worse, but in a way that was different, and therefore gives variability for a game that I've played like 30 times, and I appreciate the variability in the experience. So I'm happy Cascadia Landmarks exists. I think I am the target audience for the expansion. I was still hoping for more from it, which is why it's in my disappointments. I was so excited for that one, and I was like, it's good. It's good. That's all it is. It's just good. It's not amazing. It's just good. Then from there, we have the favorite videos of mine for the month of September. My personal favorite videos, again, ranking from 5 down to 1. These are just the videos that I'm the most proud of for one reason or another, and we'll go through the reasons as we go through them. But starting off with number 5 is my top 10 best cost per plays. This is a video where I go through my cost per plays. I go through the games that are the cheapest games I have, well, gotten played just based on, well, cost per plays. That's the metric. That's what we're talking about here. So I went through a bunch of games, including actually My Island made an appearance on that list. My City made an appearance on that list, as well as a bunch of other games. But I think it's a good conversation to have because there's always so much cult of the new on any board game channel. It's the way you stay relevant. But that's why I like top 10 lists. I like any top 10 lists that feature things that aren't just cult of the new. And for me, I felt that my lowest cost per plays is a good indicator of the games that are really getting the most personal attention time and time again. From games like Codenames to My City, to Cockroach Poker, to any number of these different games that just you get that cost per play down because of a combination of the game being cheap and because of them being played a lot. And so I thought that was a good video in general for people to really see what's getting attention, not just what's getting, to see what's getting actual attention and not just surface level attention. My number 4 is going to be Cascadia Landmarks Review, for reasons similar to reasons of disappointment, which is I find that when new things come out for stuff I love, it is so easy to be like, more new stuff. Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter World Iceborne's even better, and Zombicide Marvel's Marvel Zombies is even better. I find it so easy to get caught up in the hype sometimes that I'm actually usually happy when I'm not caught up in the hype. I'm usually happy when I can point to new things and say, sure, I loved Marvel Zombies, but Zombicide 2nd Edition and Zombicide Invader weren't for me. So it's not everything new that I love, it's specific things new that I love. Because so often it's easy to get caught up in an ecosystem where everyone's shouting that the newest thing is the best. And so for a game that I love as much as Cascadia, I am kind of happy that I was able to put out a review that kind of targets who the target audience for Cascadia Landmarks is. If you're new to Cascadia, I would actively recommend against it. If you've played Cascadia a little bit and you kind of want more, Cascadia Landmarks might be right for you. And if you play Cascadia a lot, Cascadia Landmarks is probably still worth it, even with my critiques on it. And so I really like the fact that a game system that I love and an expansion I was looking forward to, I was kind of just, positive-ish on, as opposed to like fully all in on. But number 3 is going to be 15 games at Essen. My 15 games at Essen that I'm most excited about. And that's primarily because I walked into that video not having any games at Essen I was really excited about. I just hadn't looked into Essen enough. And then I went through the research and picked out a bunch of games. And by the end of it, I had 15 games that I actively wanted to get my hands on. Well, probably all of them. I have to go through the list and see, but most, if not all of them, are games I want to get my hands on, and a bunch of them I will be getting my hands on. Although I think Evenfall might be an Essen game that was not on the list, it was not on my radar, but I definitely want to get my hands on Evenfall. But yeah, 15 games at Essen I'm very interested in, including the first one, which was a Uwe Rosenberg game with Feast for Odin vibes, but I don't remember what it was actually called past that. My number 2 video for month of September is going to be content creators and burnout. Specifically, why do content creators experience burnout? This was not about me, which I don't think I made as clear as possible. I mean, I made it clear to an extent. It was inspired by a thread in a Board Game Reviewers and Media about people talking about creation and burnout and content creators and all that stuff. And for me, I just thought it was an interesting conversation, so I wanted to go into it. But I think in general, if you watch content creators, if you get value from content creators, this is a good time to plug my Patreon. I do have a Patreon if you want to go ahead and support. It is appreciated. Thank you. It does help keep things going. We'll talk about that in another video. But either way, if you do get value from content creators, it is worth supporting them if you want to continue to see their content, because otherwise things happen, life goes on, and things take priority if there's not enough incentive to keep going when the days are hard and the days are long and the work is a lot. Then it's very easy for someone to pack up and go home. This is less of a concern with me. I think I'm entrenched enough that I expect to do this for the rest of my life, if things can even just maintain pace, forget growing. But in general, if you like a content creator, especially if they're smaller, it's worth paying attention to them and seeing what you can do to keep them in the space. And then my number 1 video for the month of September, my personal favorite, was my top 10 solo games revisited. This is a video I did 3 years ago. My top 10 solo games of all time I did 3 years ago, and I decided to redo it again, and it's been, it's been a while, but I was very happy to dive back into it. Very excited with a bunch of picks, both new and old together, going through my favorite solo games, at least based on where I stand right now. Which brings us to the next section, which is going to be my crowdfunding highlights. As usual, these are games that sometimes I backed, sometimes I didn't. I backed some of these, I did not back others. Ranked as well from 5 down to all the way to down to 1. And number 5 is actually number 5 is one that I backed, even though number 1 is one that I didn't. But we'll talk more about that. But this is actually a list of mostly expansion content for games. My top crowdfunding picks for the month of September are expansion content games that I just like. They're more content for games I already know I like. Starting off with number 5, which is Terraforming Mars. Just more maps and more stuff for Terraforming Mars. I bought it that easily. There's some promos, there's some maps. I just felt that it was worth it for me. There's some other stuff too. Oh, there's Prelude 2. There's Prelude 2, which is an easy addition. So yeah, more content for Terraforming Mars is an easy pick for me. I love that game, and I happily bought into that. At number 4 for crowdfunding is Beast Shattered Isles. Again, more content for a game system I love is an easy choice. I think that the content for Beast Shattered Isles was a little more concrete than the content for Terraforming Mars, which is why I ranked it higher. But ultimately, Beast Shattered Isles is my number 4. My number 3 is going to be Isofarian Guard reprint. The more stuff Isofarian Guard, or not more stuff, but tweaked, improved stuff Isofarian Guard is an easy win. So definitely very excited to get my hands on that. Just a game that takes a good system and tries to address the grind in whatever way possible is an easy game to be excited about. So again, it's more new stuff. It's more expansion stuff as opposed to new stuff, but number 2 is also going to be more expansion stuff with Mythic Mischief Volume 2. Again, a very exciting crowdfunding campaign with a lot of more factions, but also playing the app. Again, I played Mythic Mischief 40 times this month, and I'm happy to keep playing it. I love that game system. The only reason I'm not actively diving into the app and playing against strangers is because I usually try to, when I play a game digitally, I try to be mindful to try to play as much as possible with my friends so that we're all leveling up together, as opposed to me just getting really, really good at stomping people and having it be a game that's fun for me, but not as much for them. So and honestly, it's not fun to stomp people. It's fun to have a nice evenly matched match and then pull ahead. That's fun. Stomping people, not quite as much. And my favorite crowdfunding pick for the month of September, and this specifically because it was new, even though I didn't back it because I did have shelf control, that's going to be Peacemaker's Horrors of War. That's from Snowdale Design. A game I'm very interested in, and I hope to play at some point. I was like, I don't need to get on the crowdfunding campaign. I'll wait, I'll hold out, we'll see what happens. I'll see what the reviews are like, but I was definitely very interested and excited about that one. Even just the idea of trying to be mindful of two different sides at war and trying to be the balance in between them. I was very interested in that one, just didn't back it because I'm trying to be responsible as much as I possibly can. Which brings us to the last category, which is going to be the highlights for the month. Highlights for the month is generally not the new games, because I already have a new game section for that, but it's usually the best games that I have already played in the past. And starting off with number 5 is going to be Honey Buzz. Honey Buzz is a good game. It's not a great game. It's a good game. It's a game that I enjoy playing, that I think is very accessible. It's rewarding enough to be enjoyable. Its strategy's there. The ease of play is there. The fun little honey bits are there. I'm very excited for the expansion for that game, though, because I want that extra drop of whatever to be able to see what Honey Buzz lies for me. As of right now, it's a game I'm happy to continue playing, and I had a chance to dive into in September and really enjoyed playing through it. And number 4, we have Hanamakoji. Hanamakoji is a 2-player head-to-head game that I really enjoyed. There's Hanamakoji Geisha's Road, and apparently I had a friend in my game group who had never played Hanamakoji, which is an absolute shame, and so I played it with him. And I really enjoyed it because Hanamakoji is a great game. He did win. It was like narrowly down to the edge, but he managed to win after 5 rounds of Hanamakoji, which was very fun because that's never happened to me before. I've never once had 5 full rounds go. Usually it ends after 2 rounds at most. Sometimes it's gone to 3. But we played a full 5 rounds, having one particular geisha just stuck in the middle with no changing sides at all. But Hanamakoji, I think it's a fantastic game in any of the various implementations that there are. Coming in at number 3, we have Codenames Duet. Codenames Duet is a game that I always enjoy. Codenames is a fantastic game, and every time I play Codenames, I continue to enjoy it. Both regular Codenames, both pictures, both Duet, all the various versions and iterations of it. And Codenames Duet is a game I managed to play, I think, like 6 or 7 times in the month of September. It's one of the games. It's one of the games. Sometimes several months will go by and I won't play a game, but then this one, I did play the game. I went through it and I played the game, so I really enjoyed Codenames Duet, and so that was an easy one as well. Number 2 is going to be Mythic Mischief, which we already talked about in the crowdfunding campaigns, but it's back as well because Mythic Mischief is one that, again, I've played this game a lot. I should give it a 12x12 review at some point. I mean, honestly, I should give it a 12x12 review, but I feel like I just reviewed it because of the expansion, so I don't feel the need to give it a 12x12 review yet, I guess. I mean, I've played this game in a lot of versions. I've played it at 4. I only have not done is I've not played a 3-player. I've played a 2-player, I've played a 4-player, I've played a 4-player timed, I've played a 4-player not timed. I've played the app, I've played every single faction. I've played every single faction multiple times. I may or may not have played every single faction against every single faction. That would be a lot of plays, but I've done a lot of Mythic Mischief. I've played it solo. I've played it in any number of different variations. Mythic Mischief definitely earned a 12x12 review. We'll give it to one at some point, but maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll wait till like the final production copy of Mythic Mischief 2 comes in and give it a 12x12 review then. It certainly earned it. And then coming at number 1 is going to be Expeditions. Expeditions continues to deliver. It's continuously a fun game. It's continuously a game I enjoy and recommend. I now have the metal mechs, I have metal coins, and it's one that I played a game this past week, which was the most interesting version of Expeditions I've ever played, because I played it getting no stars, not a single star, none of the accomplishments that I get, and I still managed to win, which I love when games can do that. I love when a game can give you just different experiences. If you've played Expeditions, you know what I'm talking about, but I didn't get a single star in the game. We had someone else racing towards the stars, managed to achieve all of them, getting a bunch of quests and all that stuff going on, and just managing to ramp up endgame. But I had enough points from other engines. I was focusing hard on meteors, had a bunch of things working well for me, I had built a bunch of items. I happened to have not been able to accomplish a single star before the game ended, but I managed to eke ahead by 2 points over him, which was... It was very satisfying just because I've never had that happen before. I never won a game without a single star. So that was another fun play of Expeditions in that sense. But that's what we have. That is your month in review for the month of September. The best games, the new games, old games, games I reviewed, games I reviewed, new games, old games, disappointments, favorite videos, crowdfunding highlights, all the various things. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I appreciate you being here. And as always, I hope you have a good one.